Welcome, sisters. I'm so delighted that you're here. I'm so honored that you're here and that we would choose to gather together on this day. This is the feast day of Mary Magdalene. And I'll say more in a moment about what that is or what that's about. But I've had a calling for quite some time, for many years actually, to do an event around the feast day of Mary Magdalene. And for one reason or another, those things would just not happen. And different things would come up. And when I found out that it was on a Saturday this year, I just thought, wow, that's really perfect, because it's just a nice time for people to be able to gather. And so I've been really wanting for a long time to use Zoom for virtual retreats. Because as you may or may not know, my husband and I own a retreat hotel. Hi, Teaming. We own a retreat hotel in Northern Oregon in the Columbia River Gorge, and it's a beautiful setting, but it's not always someplace that people can come to. So I really want to be able to do retreats so it can feel like you're here without necessarily having to get on a plane and travel across the world to get here. Although if you want to do that, I really want to invite you to come. I'm not saying don't come here, but this is just a cool way to do that. And we're using the Zoom technology. I want to just share with you for a moment about how that works. You can go ahead and mute yourself. If I'm hearing background noise, then I will mute you. But otherwise, right now, the line seems pretty clear and clean. If you go if you put your cursor over the bottom of the screen, a whole bunch of toolbar shows up, and then a whole bunch of different options. Like there's a chat there, and some people have been saying hi and where they're from. If you want to go ahead and pop in your name and where you're visiting from, and where you're joining us from, that's excellent, because it really helps weave and create community. Today we have already people here from Stockholm, Sweden, Bulgaria, Southern Oregon, New York City, New Mexico, and more places arriving even as we speak. So that's really just super exciting to see different faces from different places. And some of you I know, and some of you I don't know. So I just want to thank you and welcome you, and tell you how honored I feel that you're spending this time with me and with us. And the purpose really of today is to honor and share the hidden mysteries of Magdalene and how that really relates to you, because it's great talking about all kinds of esoteric things and what was really true and what got hidden and all that, and I love all that. But I think where the rubber really meets the road is, what does that really mean for my life? How's that applicable to me? What am I supposed to do with this information now that I have it? So we'll talk more about that today. So I want to just start by inviting you to, as we've gotten a bit oriented with the technology, then if you have any other screens open, that will be great to close them now, for one, so you won't be distracted, but also your Zoom connection will run better. The fewer other things that you have got running. Mute your phone. Allow yourself to just close the door and give yourself this time together. I expect that we'll go 2 hours. I understand that some of you may not be able to stay that whole time. But thank you for being here for the time that you can be here. And we are recording this. So just be aware that that's going to go out to everybody, so that you're sharing within this sisterhood, but we're also sharing within a larger global circle that will be tuning in later on. For example, people from Australia, it's like 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning there. They were like, thanks, but I think we'll pass on that for now. So we're greeting you. I'm greeting you now virtually, all the other women from all around the world who are listening and watching and playing along with us in different time zones. Thank you for being here, whatever moment of time and space you're finding this. So this is new technology for me, and one of the hurdles I had to get over, which I'll just be transparent about, is my inner perfectionist really likes to have it so that I appear like I have it all together and doing it all right. And I really got some very strong guidance that I'm not here to perform for you and that my job really here is to love you and show you how great you are. So I'm just going to out myself right there that this is not going to be perfect, and we're just going to we're just going to play with this technology. So really appreciate you for being here in what could be, I don't know, kind of clunky. We'll see how it goes. So if you don't already, have a glass of water or a cup of tea or a glass of wine, whatever your time zone is. Get some art supplies together, have your water, and have a journal and maybe something to write with. And if you have a copy of the Magdalene Path, you might grab that. Let's get started though with an opening ritual, okay? Shall we? And let's just take a moment to quiet ourselves, quiet our minds. And go ahead and close your eyes if you're in a place that feels safe and comfortable to do that. And just allow yourself to arrive in the place where you are, the physical space where you're sitting in. Depending on the time of day, you may have had a full day already, or you may be just starting your day with lots of things ahead. So just allow yourself to arrive and feel yourself being here. And just allow your breath to drop into your body. Notice how when you focus on your breathing, it naturally opens and relaxes, deepens. Feel your seat and your feet grounded into whatever you're touching, whether that's sitting on your bed or couch or chair. And feel your breath open into your hips, your womb, your yoni, your lady parts, and cross your legs. Allow the energy to drop down into the earth, and then from the earth up into you on your in-breath. Really feel the strength and the sustenance from this beautiful planet. See if you can touch into that deep, juicy aliveness that's brewing just under the surface. Feel yourself sitting in a circle of sisters from around the world. We're gathered in the lusciousness of the Balch Hotel in this space we share together. Feel the various energies that are joining us here today. All divine aspects of the feminine, all different expressions, all different facets of one amazing gem. Each with her part to play. And then feeling the fullness of your breath in your body, then opening your crown and reaching into the starry realms, the heavens above, and all around us. Drawing in your guides and guardians, the sisterhood of the Magdalene. They're always with us, but we're just drawing them in closer today, right now. And bowing in honor to them. And then tuning in to yourself and your own guidance and feeling into what's your intention for being here today. What brings you here? What inspired you to take this time out? And how does it connect to the deeper intention for your life? Great. And then just start to bring yourself back into the room. And I'm going to light a candle. If you have a candle, you might want to light it. I have this Guadalupe candle. I have a secret belief that Guadalupe is really Mary Magdalene, not Mother Mary. But nonetheless, either way, she's totally cool. So that's going to be over here to my side. And take a sip of tea while you're getting your candles. And just take a moment also to open up your journal or grab a piece of paper and just write down what your intention for the day is. What calls you here? It might be just a word or a phrase. And how does that connect to your deeper intention for life? For your life. My intention for today is that this is very experiential. I'm going to do a bit of sharing in a moment just to frame and context some of what we'll be talking about and doing. But as you can tell already, it's going to be very experiential. I really think we get more out of things when we're doing them. Information is excellent, and then we have to sort of ground it into practice. So just taking another moment to jot anything down there that you might be aware of. And I thought a good place to start would be to share a little bit about my story. Some of you know me and may know this story, and some of you don't. So just sort of to be like, well, who is this lady and why is she here? I wanted to just tell you a little bit about how I came to be sitting in this seat today. And that's many conversations, but we won't go into the many conversations. I feel like the short answer is lifetimes. I've been working on this for lifetimes. And And then maybe the longer answer is that, you know, a few years back, I was in a place that in all ways on the outside looked very good and very successful. I had a private therapy practice. I was living in a custom built home that I had designed and built in a very small community with very close friends. I lived along a river. I had my own private beach. And on the outside, everything looked really good. I was doing work that was what I had intended to do. I was working as an art therapist in private practice, but yet I really was starting to feel unfulfilled and despairing, actually, because I felt like it didn't make sense, because by cultural standards, I had made it. I had all the trappings and trimmings of success, and yet inside, I really felt a deep hunger. I felt like there was more I was supposed to do or be. There was more I was supposed to give, and I didn't know what it was. And I was really hungering for my purpose. At the same time, sort of paradoxically, I was getting a lot of downloads and guidance that I was supposed to work on the awakening of the divine feminine. And this was in the mid 90s, when that was not necessarily a very, hi, your video's on now. That's great. That was during the 90s when, you know, it wasn't something you could just pop into Google, divine feminine, and see all kinds of stuff. I didn't really actually know what that meant or what role I would have to play in that. It felt really big. It felt really overwhelming and alarming. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I just kept asking the question. I know there's something more I'm meant to do. What am I here to do? And I kept getting these same answers. And I kept like, well, not that. What am I really supposed to do? And then finally, it just became very apparent. I connected up with a mentor, Tim Kelly, who some people here know. And he taught me how to do a process that he actually taught me how to refine a process that I'd already been doing. And I was then able to really connect with my own higher guidance, which was where I was getting these downloads from anyway, but I was able to trust it more. And the guidance I was getting was quite clearly about connecting with Mary Magdalene, telling her true story, and sharing it with women about how it really can help with them around the awakening of the divine feminine or the feminine soul. And I thought, okay, well, that sounds like a stretch, but I kept asking the question, kept getting the same answer. At a certain point, it's like, all right, you just got to do this or what? So I started on that path, and that resulted in me writing this book, The Magdalene Path. Awaken the Power of Your Feminine Soul is the subtitle. And some of you may have it, some of you may not. And it's really all about, so I would connect through my own guidance, through meditation and prayer with Mary Magdalene, and she shared with me things about her life and her story, the untold story, untold her story. And then with it, there's 24 different practices, because it was really obvious to me that it needs to be practical. It needs to be something that we can use in life. Otherwise, it's just another book on the shelf. And I love lots of books on the shelves, but I also really want to catalyze some change in the world. And I learned a lot of things through that about the feminine and what's the value of the feminine and how did we lose it and what's the problem with us losing it. Because of course, if we've never had something, and it's really been probably, depending on how you mark time, 2,000 to 3,000 to 5,000 years since the feminine has been actively vital or vibrant on the planet, more in balance. So we don't really know what that's like. We're really sort of like fish swimming in the water of patriarchy, and we don't really know what we've lost and what we're missing. So I'll be the first to say, I don't have it all figured out. I don't have this down. I don't have this like do the feminine thing down 9 times out of 10. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm being harsh on myself. Maybe 6 or 7 times out of 10, I do things from the masculine side when I think I'm doing it from the feminine side. And then I go, oh, correct, course correct. And that's not to say that doing things from our masculine is bad and that the masculine is bad. No, masculine is good. It's just that too much of a good thing is out of balance. And we're living in a world that's really quite out of balance now, with the proliferation of I would say, the lower form of the masculine. So what we're really doing here with bringing in the divine feminine or the higher feminine is we're bringing in something that's been lost. We're figuring out how this new operating system works, and then we're using it in consort with the masculine. So that, because we're not going to take that out of us, ladies, we're not going to take our masculine hard drive out. We're just kind of maybe deinstalling it, maybe I don't know, dual drives or something. I shouldn't use technology metaphors because I'm not really a technologist. But anyway, I think you get the idea that it's not about making the masculine bad or ourselves for being bad for using the masculine, but just starting to get more consciousness around which we're using and when, which ones work well and when and why. So for example, in doing this event, the download to do it was really from my feminine. And then my masculine came in and went, okay, great. We need to structure it. We need to create a Facebook event page. We need to, put up pages on websites, all this stuff. And my feminine kind of went, ah. So that's why I was quite quiet about this for several weeks, because I wasn't really willing to offer this very feminine day experience through the hard driving edge of my masculine. I could do that, but I don't think that's really what you're here for or I'm here for. So I had to pull back and kind of reconnect with the feminine, find the feminine again, and wait till she was ready kind of to speak to me and speak through me. And once that happened, boom, everything happens, invitations go out, you start seeing it. It works better because it's more from a place of radiance and magnetism, which is really a core quality of the feminine that we've really lost touch with. That's probably a great subject for a whole nother one of these live stream retreats. But I'll just bookmark that for you, that a lot of the qualities of the feminine appear more passive, appear more passive, but are actually generate their own kind of action. They just generate action from a very different place. Let me look at my notes and see how far off track I've gotten already. So my work with women really is about helping them connect to their feminine so that we can live more in balance and harmony within ourselves, in our intimate relationships, family relationships, and then in the world at large. And what I've come to discover through the process of writing this book is, I'm going to share with you some different things that I've learned about Mary Magdalene. And one of the basic premises and the pieces that was brought into me over and over through the writing of the book is that women have lost, because of the cultural context that we're in, women have lost touch with their own sense of divinity. And whenever I say that, I'm always a little not sure how to explain that, because it's one of those things that we're so not aware that we've lost. But we've really grown up inside of this patriarchal masculine structure and culture. And because of that, the feminine has been debased and denigrated for a long time. And that's a really big part of why Mary Magdalene's story was able to get so lost so easily, because it was already sort of happening in the field. Right? So I'll just share with you a few tidbits. And most of these are actually in the appendix part of the book, Revisioning Mary Magdalene. And I kind of go into the nitty-gritty details that I found through my own research. So one piece that I think is important as a great place to start is the fact that Magdalene is a title. It's not necessarily her last name. Magdalene is okay. Magdalene basically means tower or stronghold. She was given this name because she was such a powerful figure. It was also, there's some references to like the keeper of the flock and different things like that. Her name is not not because she was from Magdala, and we'll hear sometimes call her that, Mary of Magdala. Thing is, ladies, Magdala did not exist as a town while she was there. Now there's a whole town around it, or a city. I'm sure it's a city, because this is where she became from. But women were not ever named according to places. You know, looking at the structure and history of Hebrew culture at the time, women weren't named by their place names. Women were named, their last name was their husband's name, which is why you see women with names like Mary Cleopas. Well, her husband was Cleopas. And so I think it's helpful to realize that just her name is a clue to us, to how powerful she was. She was a co-teacher and healer with Jesus. And they knew, it wasn't like a big surprise. They knew that he would sort of like be the front man, and she would sort of be the powerful, she'd be the powerful person beside him, but that she would take, because of the culture that they were in, she would necessarily take a slightly more secondary seat. She was still seen as a teacher and a healer, but through the course of time, then her importance was minimized and diminished. And largely that had to do with the power of the other disciples or apostles. Peter, namely one of them, who was very threatened by her. And, but she was known as the apostle to the apostles. And that right there should be our clue, ladies. That should be the clue. She was the apostle to the apostles, meaning she was their teacher. And the plan really was that after Jesus's ordeal and transition, that she would take on leadership as the apostle of the apostles. But that's not exactly how it worked. And I think there were several reasons for that and several different forces at play, some of which was the power play moves that I mentioned earlier by Peter and others that for what became the Roman Church. But there were other factors. My belief, my experience is that she was also carrying a child. And so it was of paramount importance to have this child be protected, and to have the lineage be protected, and to have her be protected. So just following that ordeal, she moved with a group of people to Alexandria in Egypt, which had a very strong Jewish community there. And she was there for some amount of time, months, a year, studying and teaching, and then was guided to travel to the south of France. And then through France, visiting up into England in Avalon, and but she's most known for being in the south of France. And if you've ever visited the south of France, it's readily apparent that that they believe she was there. Mary Magdalene is everywhere there. So let's see, what else did I want to say? So my understanding of her is that she was a priestess, and it's not entirely clear to me, and it's not that important to me, that she may have been a priestess connected to the temple of Isis. When you look actually at a lot of, when you look at the, I got distracted by the chat. Sorry. When you look at the lineage, many of the women with her were called Mary this and Mary that. And it's like, wow, like the men have all these different names. Why don't the women have different names? And the other piece that I discovered, and others have written about this too, is that Mary or Mari was actually also a title, and it meant priestess. So Mary Magdalene then means high priestess, priestess, the tower of priestessness or something like that. We don't have to break it down that literally, do we? So, and part of the reason why I've come to believe, aside from my connection with Mary Magdalene, there's a lot of research around her being married. Of course, many of you know about the Dan Brown books. A lot of that the source material is Margaret Starbird. And she talked about the anointing. And so Mary Magdalene is mentioned in the Bible more than any other woman. She's always mentioned first, except for I think one other occasion, Mother Mary is mentioned first. And I'm not a biblical scholar, so please take this within the context of the information that I'm sharing with you. But the one piece that I think, one of the few stories that appears in all four of the canonical Gospels is the anointing. And it's mysteriously unclear who this great anointer is, but yet the anointing is there. And the anointing was a sacred ritual. It was part of the hierosgamos, which is the divine union. And it's part of the marking of the bridegroom by the bride. And all through the Bible, Jesus is referred to as the bridegroom. But nobody seems to think about who the bride is. And, in Christian church, Catholic church talks about the church as being the bride. But I don't know, that just doesn't make sense. That's just a little creepy and weird. So she's the anointer, and Christ is also not a last name, and Christ means the anointed one. So you get Jesus Christ, Jesus who's anointed, and Mary Magdalene. Seems pretty clear that there's a strong connection there. Looking at what some of the notes in the chart. Yes, Bobby says the Christ is in office also of divine love. Interesting that Magdalene means tower and stronghold. Yeah, exactly. So she's the anointer. She was referred to as the Miraphor, which is very interesting. Miraphor means the one who carries myrrh, the essential oil myrrh. And there was a lot that happened in those days around essential oils and anointing. And there's a strong tradition in the Egyptian mysteries, which is part of why I have a sense that she was at least exposed to and trained in these traditions, if not fully initiated into those traditions. When I think about it and look at Jesus as a Jewish man, he's not really practicing Judaism in a very traditional way. So it kind of makes me think that they're both really actually connected to the mystery streams of Isis, but they don't go out and say that because that would be like sort of blowing their cover within their Jewish world that they're in. The one other piece that I always like to bring forward is that Mary Magdalene was never a prostitute. I imagine all of you have heard the great news. She wasn't actually really a prostitute. That it was Pope Leo, and I think 409, 406, again, don't quote me there, who, back in the day, they couldn't just, go onto YouTube and watch the news or go to Facebook and watch the news. The way, and because they didn't have that stuff, and they couldn't even really go to books because most of them couldn't read. How they really learned was through lectures. And so he gave a series of lectures, and he conflated all these different Marys, because as you know, there's lots of Marys in the Bible. And he decided that she was the one with the 7 devils and the sins, and that she was a prostitute. Nowhere in the Bible, anywhere does it say she's a prostitute. There's interesting stuff about the 7 devils and the 7 chakras or 7 veils. We could explore that at some point too. But I'm just kind of dropping some of these little tidbits to you. I do think that there's something really powerful about how the prostitute myth has gotten, has gotten sort of carried because it is, well, I guess we're seeing a lot of how things that are false truths and false facts are becoming, believed. So I guess we're just seeing a way earlier version of that there. But I think that it really speaks to something about her power and her sexual power, her sensual power, her embodied essence. Like, women are very powerful beings, but part of how that is sourced through our bodies, and part of how the patriarchy and the masculine structure power system has really worked is by disempowering us, helping us believe that we're not worthy, and also really disconnecting us from our bodies and from our sexuality. And I think part of that is because men are scared of that, and not, because it can be such a powerful thing. And so anything that we get that's really powerful, we oftentimes want to really shut down and control or manage. I mean, I do that. Definitely do that sometimes. So I think that's also part of why women are drawn to Mary Magdalene, because there's something essential about her, something like innate and earthy and relevant that we can really sense and tune into, even though we don't totally get like what that is or how that is. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with you? So what thoughts do you have about Mary Magdalene? Do you know are there other pieces that you'd like to share, or any feedback or comment about anything that you've heard me sharing? If you kind of like wave your hand, I can unmute you. I think you can also unmute yourself by going down to that bar, but I can unmute you if you let me know. In the meanwhile, while you're and go ahead and jot some notes down about how is her life and story relating to you, any symbolism there. And if anybody has anything they'd like to share, go ahead and raise your hand and I will unmute you. I hear from Bibi wrote that I've heard that the Marys were meant to be the wives of powerful men. The 7 devils were meant to train the Marys so that she would not falter to temptation, so they would tempt her in all ways possible. Once she was married, they were cast out. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really heard that spin. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's like, I could see where that's true, and I can also see where there could be some distortions in that. Yes, Bobby says that by going to the bottom toolbar, you can raise your hand by clicking on that. So good job. Thanks, everybody. So just take a moment. So let's see what else. See what other things I had in my notes. So, and like I said before, none of this couldn't have happened like to her without 5,000 years of patriarchy, which at that point I guess was only 2,000 or 3,000 years, but still, she was living in a very masculine-centered time. And with that was the denigration and disavowal of the feminine, which has really, a lot of good things have come from the masculine system. We have all this technology. I mean, the reason we're able to be here today is because of the wonders of things like Facebook and Zoom and Skype and email, email providers and different things like that. So, so again, it's like, these are really helpful things. And I think we've also seen manifest destiny as a spiritual, as a religious and a political doctrine that has come out of this masculine overdrive and has really put us in quite a bit of peril right now. Although some don't really want to see that, but by many views, we're headed in a difficult place. And with that, so with the loss of Mary Magdalene, I feel like we, through Christianity, which is sort of the dominant religious mythology of the West, regardless of whether you're practicing Christian or Catholic or not, it's still woven through our cultures quite powerfully. And we've really lost the Sophia, divine wisdom. Mary Magdalene was in partnership and was here to show women and be a guide and a model and a metaphor for women to align with. It's hard for me anyway to think about Jesus and be like Jesus, knowing Jesus is a man. And I mean, I can still model some things after him, but I'm not going to feel like, yeah, he's like me. I'm just not. Some of you that may be true. He may seem like you, but for a lot of women, I think we just don't really quite know where to connect in. And we've really lost from that. And part of what we've lost from that is that although Jesus was very much about healing and teaching, and he was he was literally very hands-on kind of guy, what we've mostly seen as the outgrowth of the Christianity, the spiritual stream that's developed through his work, is much about dogma and belief and not necessarily about practice. So I think many people have turned away from Christian teachings because they're really hungering for practices, mystical practices. And I know I had really been looking for those things in the early years, and they're not easy to find. Now they are, because you just Google esoteric Christianity, or teachings of um, contemplative meditation, or different things like that, and you could find a lot of things. So, but back in the day, it wasn't so easy. Yes, and that the teachings that he was sharing was really about busting up the systems. And it's so interesting that what's happened is created a massive system. So yeah, his teachings were really perverted to sustain and support masculine power. He was well before his time, and as a result, it didn't kind of go so well. But it's the message is still worth heeding and trying. So so with that, what that brings us to is like, okay, so what I've been thinking about a lot for the last little bit, year or so, is, okay, well, so what does that really mean? That's all. Not that it's good that happened, but okay, it's good we know the truth now, but what does that mean for me here now? Like, why is Mary Magdalene of such interest to so many people? And I think it's because she's a metaphor. She can be a metaphor for us in our life. So I wanted to brainstorm that with you. I'll share my ideas, and I'm hoping that we can sort of open source this a bit. You might have some other ideas for how the message of Mary Magdalene can play into our lives as modern women today. So the things that I see straight off the bat are about the denigration of the feminine body and sexuality and sensuality, and how we can start to learn to revive and imbibe and embody that, how we can do that, how we can come out of slut shaming and start to actually appreciate our sensuality and sexuality, and how we come into a right relationship with it. So it's not like overdone and too much, and we're not in integrity, or it's underdone and we are shut down and don't have any sense of our juicy vitality and aliveness that's inside of us. So there's that piece. I think there's something powerful also reflected in the story of Magdalene about her story being contorted and converted. And many times women in our lives feel like our own true story has not really gotten told, or the story that we've told about ourselves or others have told about us isn't actually truth. And I think there's something powerful in there about that. I think there's something in there about being veiled or being hidden, being misperceived, like being thought of as one thing when really she's another. Like, I think a lot of times that can be true for us as women, that there's a deep mystic, maybe it's a deep mystical powerful part, maybe it's not, maybe it's just that our voice isn't being heard, or we're not being acknowledged for the contribution that we're actually making to our organization or our community. Maybe we're being passed over for promotions, or maybe we're not being voted into a position or an office because we're not being seen for who we really are. I think that's one possible thing. What other ideas might you have about what you see as being, what are some of the hidden messages or metaphors for Magdalene that you're aware of? And Valentina shared, look at how women have been shamed about their menstrual cycle being dirty. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, in some religious cultures, it's like literally like you're hands off. In the goddess temples, it was a time of coming into our divine feminine by giving our blood back to Mother Earth, as we're so connected to her as women. And it was a time of women to gather. It was like a time of women to rest and connect. And you lose the red tent, and you lose like that sacred coming together where we get to go, hey, well, what about that? I don't think that's really right. Or Yeah, I don't think so either. Hey, let's do something about that. Like, there's a way in which when women get together, that shit happens. You know, we get stuff, we can get stuff done. We can change the tides of opinion or bring together pieces that have been lost and forgotten. But if we're kept disconnected in our own little isolated nuclear family households, more people live alone in this decade than ever before. I can't remember what the statistics are, but it's astonishing. And we kind of take it for granted, like, oh yeah, of course, I live alone. It's great living alone. And I'm not saying living alone is bad, but it's just like we don't recognize how we can get so disconnected from people. Just part of why we're here. Yay. Any other shares, thoughts, musing, inklings, wonderings, downloads about Magdalene, and how is her story? How does it reflect in your life? How could there, and it may be just a thin thread, and it may feel like a stretch, but how are you seeing, feeling, or sensing that there's something about what she represents that is a meaning for you, has meaning for you? Raise your hand, or you can go to the bottom and you can raise your hand, or I think if you go to the bottom, you can actually just unmute yourself. Anybody?
So one of the things that's striking me right now is you talked about Magdalene being the apostle of the apostles. And so I'm thinking that she's a metaphor that, maybe quote our target audiences are really small groups of people.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the apostle of the apostles, the healer of the healers, the teacher of the teachers, those kinds of things that, the significance in, quote, creating the giant database may be impertinent.
Right. The idea that if we're not working with a lot of people, that we're not having any impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. Yeah. What else? Bobby says, bingo, BB. Reen says, whoa, BB, awesome. Yes, Carol. You're unmuted.
I don't know. Do I just talk?
Nope, yeah, just talk.
This isn't very detailed or deep, but since I became aware of Mary Magdalene's presence through you, thank you, I just feel like she's got my back. I feel that it's like I don't always remember her, but she always remembers me.
Wow.
There's a feeling that whenever I call on her, I have access to a deep source of love and wisdom, and that interesting sense out of the corner of my eye that I may have been in the temple with her, and that just feels so good whenever I visit that feeling.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was getting chills when you shared that. That's really beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you.
So Claire, this is Bobby. Carol, that was gorgeous, and Bibi, I love what you had to say. One of the places that I'm kind of tuning in is various interconnections, and this weekend is actually also a gathering of the grandmother's net of light. So it's like the ancient indigenous grandmothers from all traditions, and they're human, people in the world right now doing stuff. So I thought, wow, that is amazing that these two, Magdalene's date and the grandmother's net of light gatherings are kind of superimposed. The other thing that I just wanted to note about Magdalene as kind of inspiration for me is everything is a temple. Life is sacred. You can make everything beautiful, meaningful, sacred. It travels within. It's like the grail within that is ever present. And our job is more to wake up to that than to go out and find it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's part of where I go when I kind of meditate on this.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah, you're getting a lot of woohoos for that one. Yeah. Yeah. Tomar, go ahead.
So she's an archetype as well, and so Sophia, wisdom itself is feminine, is the
That's right.
feminine ray of consciousness. It's like loving wisdom and love and wisdom. There's something about Magdalene's position in her society. I was just thinking, it's honorific. You know, she actually was honored. She had the status. She was given the role. It was official. There was a place in society to honor this obvious wisdom of the feminine, not the feminine knowledge, which of course is this holistic, integrative,
Right.
connective, bringing together above and below. It's the harmonizing of worlds. So the fact that it wasn't just an implicit knowing that we call feminine, as opposed to the separated apart dominator model of the masculine, but that she was given this official role in the culture feels really significant to me.
Right. Yeah, and she's been completely disappeared. I mean, not completely, we wouldn't be here, but had been for a long time. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big upsurge now of this recognition and demand and desire to bring back the divine feminine. And we're all doing it. It's all through the grassroots, from the bottom up. It's democratized, it's diversified. It's not just, someone at the top who's emblematic. But there's something, I don't know, there's just something about well, we'll see. We don't know where our culture is going to go and how this is going to play out.
Right, exactly.
But going back into other cultures, ancient lineages of this division, this equilateral sharing of power and honor between the yin and the yang forces of the creative force of the universe. I mean, that's what it is. The divine force of creation is equal parts male and female, like hello. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and thank you. I'm going to have to leave in a couple of minutes, but this is wonderful, and I will watch the rest of the recording.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I think that's it's just so much of what you all have shared is so helpful. I think it's so because it just really helps to sort of stir up this old consciousness or buried awareness, and it's something that we all have access to. It's not a top-down hierarchical thing, and I think that's part of what Tomar you're speaking to, is that we're open sourcing it and we're doing it in community together. And somebody asked a question about Sophia, and who is Sophia? And so Sophia is sort of is Greek for holy wisdom. And in Christianity we hear about the Trinity, and that's Holy Spirit. For a long time it was holy wisdom was one and the same. The Holy Spirit was Sophia, and it was feminine. And somewhere along the way it kind of got gender neutralized and turned into a white bird. And So, it's been there, but it's been in hiding. So part of what we're doing is we're unveiling. And I really loved what you had to say. A few of you spoke to the priestess lineage and the temple and being in the temple. And one of the things I've been really feeling this year is the call of the priestess. But it's more of like what Bobby was speaking to, is the priestess in everyday life. And it's not necessarily about, although it can be about doing rituals and wearing goddess wear and, I don't know, doing priestessy things, studying goddesses and things like that. But it's really also about reframing who we are. And I think that because the powers that be, the patriarchy, has denigrated the feminine, we've denigrated the priestess. And so women as priestesses are women who are teachers, women who are coaches, women who are therapists, anybody who's really caring for anybody else. I made a list. I don't know where I can find that list, but just all these different roles that we are priestessing, but we don't really have a temple, or we have the temple that is our world, our office, but we always have the temple, which is our body. And in a lot of the work that I do, it's really about reclaiming our experience of being whole and complete and beautiful in our bodies, which is a journey, because it's not what our culture sets us up for. Carolyn Mace, monks without monasteries. That's great. Yeah. And priestessing in everyday life. That's the sort of part of the tagline of the redesign of my website, is priestessing in your life every day. It's about having divine connection every day and doing something with it, not just meditating on a cushion, then getting up and going on with your life. I mean, you do, yes, you go on with your life, but it's informed by some of this divine connection. So I thought what we would do now actually is let's, since we've talked a lot about Magdalene and we've kind of stimulated the archetype, and I'm glad you brought up that word, because that's how I often feel about her too, Tamara. She's an archetype. There was a physical real person, but we're also relating to the archetype. So some of this is projection. Oh, maybe a lot of it, maybe all of it, it's projection, and it's an archetype. So, but let's take a moment and connect in with the archetype and of the priestess Magdalene. We're going to do a guided meditation for a few minutes. So I'd have you have your journal nearby and have your art supplies nearby. But start just first by closing your eyes. Let yourself settle in. And connect in again with your breath. Feel your breath, the spirit of your life moving through your body. Feel your breath move into your hips. Your womb. Feel your breath moving into your legs and feet, into your arms and hands. Feel your breath in your heart. in your head and in your crown, opening again or opening still. And as you're breathing into your body, feel yourself sitting in the circle. We're a circle of women and a few awesome, brave men. Feel the strength and the delicacy of each person who's here. Feel the strength and the size of the circle. Feel how the circle grows. And notice where the circle is. Notice, look up from the women in the circle and the men in the circle and see the space that we're in. It's a beautiful space. It might be lit by candles or oil lamps or soft glowing diffuse light from some nameless place. And know that you're in a temple. You start to become aware that this is a temple. It's a temple to the sacred feminine. Smell the pungent aroma of the essential oils and incenses that are burning and nearby, plants and flowers. See the rich textures and colors. Maybe drapes, maybe stained glass windows, maybe earthen walls, maybe brick or stone, forest cathedral. And you see priestesses and young women in training moving about kind of in the background. And know that as we're sitting in this temple to the sacred feminine, there's a temple to the sacred masculine that's connected to this. With high-minded men and women who are doing the same work in partnership. But we've perhaps spent a lot of time in the temple to the sacred masculine, so we're going to spend time in this temple today. And so explore around. You might see beautiful books, crystals and stones and healing objects, rooms for healing and caring. There's beautiful gardens outside. And in our circle today, though, we've come here, there's many things we could do, but we've come here to have an appointment with the Magdalene. And she knows we're all coming. It's her special day. And you sort of feel or sense her presence moving from maybe an altar area. See, sense, feel, or imagine her moving towards you. You might see colors, you might see a figure. She might appear fully formed. She might just start to coalesce. She has long reddish brown hair. She's often wearing red, sometimes with green. She's wearing a beautiful cape. And she might appear differently to you, and that's okay. She also might be someone else, and you could ask her what her name is. So say hello and introduce yourself. Greet her and be greeted. She may put her hands on your head and bless you, or she may wrap her arms around you. And she may not. Trust whatever's happening. And if you're not somebody who sees things in these journeys, try not to get frustrated with yourself and make yourself wrong. Whatever's happening is fine and perfect. One thing is clear, she adores you. She thinks you're amazing. She knows the struggles you've been through, the challenges you still are dealing with, and the ones you face in the future. And she's in awe. She wraps you in love and wisdom, and in a sense of everything's all right. Allow yourself to bathe in her beauty and her love, her healing. And as you're experiencing that, if you have any questions for her or any need from her, please ask her now. See if she has any particular message for you. Something you need to hear. And bring that to a close and thanking her. Know that you can visit with her whenever you need to. And you can feel her sort of start to fade back into the altar, the temple. So that you feel yourself again in the circle, in the temple. And feel yourself in the circle together online. The circle that we're in the Balch Hotel, the circle that we're in on Zoom. Feel yourself in your own room, your own chair, bed, seat, wherever you find yourself. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes and let's take a couple of minutes to jot down what you saw or experienced. Any messages you want to remember, this is the time we need to write them down before they start to fade away. Any images you saw, colors, shapes, words, phrases, any sense of guidance you got. You can come back and fill it in later, but for now, just capture the big pieces. Linda, your cat really wants to be part of this circle. That's a familiar right there. I will not be ignored. Yep. And then off he goes. Sweet. Take a few more minutes just to jot some things down. Timing, do you have a question? Your hand is up.
Yeah, I got a name, spelled Hypatia.
Oh.
So I'm wondering who that is, because I mean, it might be a different version of me or at some point. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna Google it later. But since I'm using my phone, I can't Google it at the same time right now.
We don't want you multitasking. I think what I'm hearing from how you spelled it, and you could put it in the chat, some other people might know more. It sounded like Hypatia, which is a Greek or Roman goddess. I don't know which.
Oh, okay, Greek or Roman goddess. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You spell it again. You said Hyp.
Patia.
Yeah, I think it's a derivation of Hypatia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would look her up.
I will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and then I guess what I asked for Mary Magdalene was, like show me and help me build a community of love.
Ah.
So I got this image. Okay, so it's a community of love in my family, my home, I'm starting small here, hometown or city, and then
Yeah.
on and on. But so this image is of like a magnet, and then iron filings, and then to increase the power of a magnet, you can increase the electricity. Also, it's like high electricity, right? It's like those magnets that you wrap a wire around, and
Right.
increase the voltage and whatever it is. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But then the more iron filings are
Right.
come to place, so you can.
Right.
That's the imagery I get.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the more you empower or energize yourself, then the more people you'll draw to you. But the idea is drawing them to you as a way to create a community of love.
Yeah. Rather than going out and seeking.
Right.
It's like a drawing in.
Right. Yeah. Which doesn't mean there may not be some outer actions of going out, but that what I'm hearing you say is that the major energetic is to be drawing in.
Right. Well, you still need to increase the power.
Right.
Right. So you have to actually do something to
Yeah.
increase the power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'd like for you to do now is let's just take a moment, maybe 5, maybe not even 10 minutes, and take out some of your art supplies and do a little bit of drawing of something you saw, or something that you saw or whatever. Just like let's do a drawing about it. Because sometimes words, I'm a writer, I love words, but sometimes images really can capture a lot. So, and if you didn't see anything, or if what you saw isn't really what you want to draw, then just allow yourself to be drawn to a color. And just start there. Color and a shape. You start with line. Take a few more minutes to finish that up. Great. So let's take a moment to finish up. So what I thought we could do now is I wanted to create space for anybody that would like to share anything about their journey, but also thought we could do a show and tell since we have this great technology here. And so I would love to have you hold up your pieces of artwork and let's see what you got. Sweet. Cool. Nice. Oh, Linda, that's very cool. It's like almost like a labyrinth. Excellent. Carol. Bobby. Awesome. Good. And Gabrielle and Lewis, if you want to come, put on your camera so we can see your drawing, feel free to do that. Valentina shared that she was told to finish her Goddess Temple book. What other kinds of messages, thoughts? Mary Lou, thanks for showing yours too. What kinds of messages, visions, images, inklings, phrases did anybody else get? Anybody have pieces they'd like to share? Hey, Gabrielle, good to see you. Ooh, look at that face. Gorgeous. Excellent. Excellent. Carol, would you like to say something about yours? I'm curious. Hi. Yeah. I can unmute you. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Okay. I don't know if it's clear from this, but when you described Mary Magdalene as wearing a cape, she came toward me and her arms were out like she was going to embrace me, which she did. But then it's really hard to explain, but it's like I walked toward her and then through her, I could see the cosmos, stars and planets.
Oh,
So she's still in embrace. I was looking into deep space.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
a little hard to
Yeah. Some of these things are hard to,
convey, but that's what I was drawing.
yeah.
And my intention in this workshop was to, I don't know, words are inadequate, but to kind of reconnect with my core, which is the divine, I presume, and or is at least deeply connected with the divine and the divine feminine. And so in being embraced by her and holding that intention, I got the message. It's so obvious, like, oh, a lot of your fatigue comes from the fact that you're not connected with your source. It's like, it's so obvious.
I hope you wrote that down.
I mean, of course I'm always, oh, you bet. But so I'm always connected with my source, which is why the words are inadequate, but it's like not living from my from source.
Exactly. Right. You'd be dead if you weren't connected. We know that much. So, but there's a way
whatever that whatever that means, however you describe it, that's like lack of living from source is the source of most of my problems. Kind of simply.
Great. So then the next time you go into meditation, you might want to ask, what specifically do I need to do or be more of or less of in order to be more connected?
Yeah, I got a really strong sense that a whole lot of my habits are from this kind of weird victim-y place I get into when I'm not coming from source. And so it's like, okay, there's a lot to let go of there just in the way of habit, because the being in source is fairly straightforward in itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that word habit is so key, because we don't often realize, and we can get down on ourselves. Why isn't this changing? Well, it's because we've created some habit there. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Timing.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So I drew a red heart. Well, actually, okay, this was kind of like my process. First, I drew a red inner heart, and then I was going to do like orange, and I did orange, and then I was going to do yellow on the outside. Then I don't know why, as I was coloring, I just blended them all together to be more red. So
right.
I guess the message is about embracing red.
And
I haven't worn red for a very long time. I mean, my clothes are like not red color.
Right.
So I guess, the thing is, I don't know, what does red mean to me? Like maybe it means like, I guess it's like show off a little bit. Wow. And maybe it's time to like show off or something like that. Embracing red, embracing, and blood. I don't know why I've been getting blood, like sometimes in my dream blood, and I thought, maybe it's like violence or whatever. I don't want to like really check into like what is this blood about, but I'm thinking maybe it's about sacred blood mysteries, and maybe it's something else, not really violence or anything.
Right.
So this red and blood and all, I think is this theme I'm going to be exploring. Picking it up.
Right. Yeah, red may be about being seen for you. Like it's very vibrant. It's very, you show up. And not, and it could be something else too. So definitely, explore and trust your own guidance and sense of it. Red is certainly the color of the Magdalene, sort of historically, and in a lot of, esoteric traditions. Like there were periods where the way they would project or portray, or tell the hidden stories of Mary Magdalene was through art. And you can always tell when it's Mary Magdalene. It may say Mother and Child or Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, whatever, but she's in red or red and green. And that's like a clue that it's really not her. It's really Mary Magdalene. So
okay.
Yeah, looks like Valentina got red too. I got some red. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else like to share anything? All right. Well, excellent. And so, so how all of this relates to us is it's like we have an ability to tap in to our own inner wisdom and our own inner guidance, and yet we're immersed in a culture that really invites us to do anything but. Tries to really keep us distracted, like, oh, quick, let me check my phone, and things like that. So easy, it's so tempting, there's something so compelling there, and it's like, but it's all inside of us, and yet we really, and we can do it on our own, but yet it's a lot harder. So, I mean, coming together in circles like this, or working with a truth guide that can really help you remember and reconnect, and then re-remember and reconnect, because the process is connect, disconnect, reconnect, disconnect, reconnect, and hopefully over time the disconnect times get shorter, but it's not like they don't go away. It's not like it's not as if I don't have times where I'm disconnected or unaligned. It's like, because new things start coming up or coming in, and then parts of me or parts of you aren't gonna, might be afraid or concerned about that. I mean, that's the thing. When we start really getting our own inner guidance, there can be some oh shit stuff that we have to act on. And it's kind of designed that way because it's part of our own, I believe, like Earth School training grounds to have different things that kind of we're challenged with. Like, we always end up having these things that are exactly what we'd rather not be doing, but then end up being perfect because they get us through certain things or teach us certain things that we wouldn't have otherwise. So like the process is about receiving, which is what we've been doing with the meditation and the drawing, and the drawing and art making process can really be a way of allowing, can be a way of allowing information to come in. I don't know if that happened for any of you. If as you were drawing, the drawing changed, and then you started getting different bits of information that you weren't maybe really aware of. Did that happen to anybody else here? It happened to me. I don't know if it happened to anybody else, where it's like just through the process, you start having little insights, or the way the thing comes out, you start having a different awareness of it. Just seeing Bobby's message here about the message that she got from Magdalene. You are loved beyond measure. You are love. Pass it on. I love that. That's really cute. It's like, pass it on. So how all of this relates to us, as I was saying before, it's like we've been wrapped in this cloak of patriarchy. And so through that, so for so long, women were, oppressed and repressed, and in some parts of the world still are. And I mean, we're still not even in this country, in the US. I know not all of you are in the US, but in the US, we're still not earning on par with men. There are still way more men in political office than women. There are way more men at, heads of corporations. And I mean, for some of it is that women don't want to do some of that stuff. Like when we become actually really in our feminine, we realize that's not what we want to do. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't change those power structures of those, the systems that are in place, so that they could really start to include and embody a more feminine way of being that would then inspire more collaboration and partnership, more sacred union, masculine, feminine, inside of ourselves as well as outside of ourselves. So there was a real loss of the feminine, like I was saying, to the exclusion of masculine power, control, logic, order, mind, thinking. I mean, those are all good things. We need those skills, or we wouldn't show up here at the right time, the right place. And when we do it all the time, it's kind of like Carol said, we get disconnected from source, from spirit. And so a lot of what happened, is that women started recognizing, hey, wait, we're just as good as the guys. Like, that's the women's movement in the 70s. We can do these things too. And so women really started to source their power through the masculine, which I think strategically made a lot of sense, because that's the system that's in place. So we had, you know, it's like, that's like, let's prove we can do that. But now that we've proven we can do that, we're like, well, yeah, but maybe we don't want to, or maybe that's not working so great, or maybe we're missing out on this great, awesome other half of the way the world, you know, the way universal life force and energy actually works, which is balance of masculine and feminine. So women are really refining their balance and refining their own divine sovereignty, which is really, again, about women and men working together, and about sacred union, divine union, inside as well as outside. So it's like we had to kind of go way over to the masculine side and actually sort of align and partner and kind of do that. And now we're kind of coming back and going, well, and learning about the feminine and how to be in the feminine. What does that really mean? And what does that really look like? And like I said earlier, we kind of, in a way, don't really know. But we're starting to get some inklings, and we're starting to have see a path start to be laid for us that we can start to move in on, and start to practice and start to collaborate with other people and go, well, this is what I'm doing about this. What are you finding works? Or this is where I'm feeling really challenged. What are you doing that works? And, you know, and that's why I really teach and guide women into the sacred feminine, so that we can really start to find balance. It's not about putting one off to the exclusion of the other. Deep listening to the soul of the feminine and your guidance. It's not really about my received guidance. It's about your received guidance, so that you can then act on that. But then, so that the reception is the feminine part, and then the acting on it. A lot of women get kind of hung up in that, like when we get way too in the feminine, it's like, la, 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 and then the action doesn't happen. So we're not bringing it out to the world. We, you know, it's like I was speaking of earlier, like having the download, having the guidance to do something, but then, you know, being afraid or not having the skills to do it, which is why we come together for support. And it's why we, you know, have buddies, or why we hire mentors, or have different people that can guide us. And I think that this is really the path of the new priestess that we're walking. And it's not necessarily, we're not trying to go back into the olden days. We're trying to revive it in a new way. There are deeper mysteries that we're called to start to weave into our contemporary culture. And we're the ones to do that. So yeah, let's see, notes in the chat. Receiving the guidance, and then the action in the world from the place of guidance. Yeah. And Valentina shares, which certainly something I've experienced, and some of you probably has, afraid to, due to being murdered in a few of my past lives for owning my feminine power. Hallelujah, sister. And I think it's one of the most common themes that I come up against when I'm working with women is a feeling of like repression in the voice, or a longstanding pattern of invisibility, because, or just inaction or incomplete action, ineffective action, because we're afraid of what's going to happen when we get seen, because on a cellular level, or on a genetic memory, or whatever it is, past lives, however you want to think about that, we're afraid of that happening again. But I feel like we need to move into that and through it. And that's where working with the disembodied or disenfranchised parts of us, and making them honored and welcomed, but also starting to up-level some aspects of ourselves about like, yeah, but we're not still living in medieval France, and it is safe, and but finding ways that it is safe, because there are places that it wouldn't be safe. So also really knowing that we need to find circles of support. And so one thing that I was thinking about with regard to that, I mean, my intention for today has really just been to share this material with you, because I've been feeling it for a long time, and I've been, you know, having my own push me, pull you dance about do it, don't do it, I'm ready, I'm not ready, it needs to be perfect. I talked about all that. And yet I just kept feeling like, if I don't do it, badly, I'm never going to get better at it. So I got to just get out there and start rather than wait. And that's you know, that's that's a vulnerable place to be, and I get that. And I also know that, you know, I've been working with women since publishing the Magdalene Path, and there are women who want to know more and they want to do more. So I was thinking about, well, you know, if I was, you know, really slick and had it all together the way I'd want, I'd have some page to show you and some offer and some class and all that kind of stuff. And I don't actually have all of that, but what I do have that I can share with you if you're interested in going forward. Because some of you might feel like this is really nice and I'd like to do more of this. And some of you might feel like, no, I really need to do something and, you know, and to continue, keep going. Because otherwise we tend to have these great, beautiful, high, yummy, lovely experiences. And then the rest of our life comes back in, and then we just kind of go on, and another month or year goes by and we haven't really brought that secret dream of ours out to the world. And I really want to help people bring that secret dream or that vision or that not so secret dream out to the world. But to do it in a way that really honors the feminine. So I had two ideas that I came up with basically last night and today is, well, for one, the first thing is, if you don't have a copy of the Magdalene Path, that's a great place to start. And you can get that at magdalenepath.com. The book is $17.99. There's also a bundle that I offer for $21.99 so that it comes with a workbook and a coloring book. So that's that. But then the other thing I really thought of is I have a program that I'm about to put together into a class. And the program is 6 7 modules, sorry, 7 modules. And so the class will be a 7 module class. And I'm going to actually pop the links in the chat when I finish talking, because I can't do both at the same time. So the class is going to be 7 sessions. Sorry, I keep saying 6. 7 sessions. It'll be $97. I'm going to offer it to you for $97. When I start to actually, and I think I'm planning that it'll begin like in September. When I start to promote it, I'm going to promote it and sell it for more, probably for $197. But I want to just give you all, since you're here, and it's like low tech. I'm not like have any bells and whistles to really show you. You can go to my website and you can look at the program, so then you can see what the class is going to be like. And then as the information comes out about, you know, when the date is and time and all that kind of thing. We'll do it on Zoom like this, unless people would rather just do it by phone. That's cool too. We can do that. And it'll be a chance to work through the different modules of the program. Now, some of you might feel like you'd like to just do the program one-on-one with me. And I believe on my website, it's like $16.95 to do the program. And I generally do like an early bird, quick yes, pay in full thing for $9.95. And I wanted to offer it for you for the 6 sessions of the program for $5.97. So that basically ends up being less than $100 a session, which is like almost half what I usually charge. So I just wanted to make those 2 pieces available to you. And I'm going to go ahead and multitask just for a second. And I'm going to just do this. All right. So there's 2 links, and they're basically PayPal. There's 2 PayPal links if you know you'd like to do the class or the private work with me. There's also a link at the top. I haven't put it in yet. No. Oops. Okay. All right, that only gave you 1 link. So let's try this again. The class is if you're at the web and you want to look at it, is the class for the, let's see. Yeah, for some reason it didn't copy everything. So the 6-week virtual class is $97. The 3-month program, you can see the program which is also going to be the same thing as the class, is at magdalenepath.com/Magdalene-path-program. Let's try that again. Yeah, look, woohoo! Very low tech. You can basically look at both the program and the class by going to magdalenepath.com, Magdalene Path Program. That's that first link, and then, well, it's actually the second link. Where it says 3-month program, that's the thing there. Okay. That's what I got. And I would love to explore this with you, because I think that we've got some great traction, and we want to just keep moving forward in bringing this forward, because we're just all learning and growing and making it happen. If you have any questions for me about any of that, or about anything that we've talked about today, anybody have any questions? And then we're going to wrap up. We're going to do a little ritual closing wrap up. Any questions? Yeah, T-Main has a question. Did you have a? Yeah, okay.
Unmute.
Great.
So kind of like generally what's going to be in that 7-session group thing?
Yes. So the class. I'm gonna just actually pull up the website, and I'm gonna tell you about it. So while that's happening, does anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. So that's, oh, it is loading. Great.
So Claire, question.
Sure.
The 7-module thing, when are you likely to do that? Would that be a daytime and evening time? And how long, you may not know the answers to this yet, and how long would each individual session be?
Great question. The class, I'm just scrolling through some things here. Sorry about that. So the class is, my thought about it is to do the class in the early evening, maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, on a Wednesday, I would say probably on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I would take suggestions if anybody had like, oh, I'd like to do it, but I couldn't do it at this time or whatever. The classes themselves will be an hour and a half long, and I will do two like sort of Q&A masterminds, basically times where people can come with their questions. So in addition to the class. So the class is really about, the first module is about accessing the wisdom of your divine guidance, so you feel more clear and confident. So many of you have a connection to your divine guidance, but it may not be a fully opened up line. And some of you may feel like you don't have connection. So that would be the first step, is to really access a clear connection to your divine guidance. The second module is about embodying your authentic feminine essence and rediscovering your holy desire. So reconnecting with the energy and essence of you as feminine, and activating your own radiance and your own unique beauty, so that you feel more alive in your body, so that you feel more pleasure in your body, so that you feel more sensual and alive. And it's not necessarily about being sexual, but certainly sometimes for some women that whole piece has gotten really turned down. So it's about coming back into our bodies. And then the third module is about balancing your being, integrating the inner masculine and feminine. So that's really about learning which energy do you operate from the most. A lot of women operate mostly from their masculine, but not all. And then feel sort of underpowered in their feminine. Some women are overpowered in their feminine, and then underpowered in their masculine, but the ways in which they're using these energies is kind of out of balance. So learning ways so that we don't relapse into man mode, and learning the balancing act of feminine and masculine integration, but learning also how to shift out of the default patterns of masculine and feminine. The fourth module is about releasing blocks that keep getting in your way so that you can live a truer you. Because what starts to happen when we start to get guidance and we start awakening these different aspects of ourselves is we realize that there's stuff isn't happening. So we need to work with the blocks, the beliefs, limiting patterns, limiting beliefs, emotions that are getting stirred. Some of that is about learning through what derailed you in the past, but learning how we can creatively untangle blocks and reset yourself when life gets off balance. And what that'll do is often really allow more vision, more power, more possibility to start to open up, because we're not like sort of squelching ourselves down by those fears like Valentina mentioned of being killed from a past lifetime, or fears about what are the neighbors going to think, or, you know, what are the people on the PTA board, or different things like that, that really are, you know, we can minimize them, but they really do keep us down. I mean, I know the ways in which those can really keep us from being active. The fifth module is about activating your magic and tapping your creative genius. So that's about using your creativity and the creative essence of the feminine, and how to use expressive arts for decision-making tools, so that when you feel stuck, you have ways to work through things without just trying to hammer on yourself. So creative processes that are fun and empower your deeper core wisdom. The sixth module is about the art of living and working from feminine soul. So that has to do a lot with celebrating the changes that have manifested during the course of the program, and then noticing that with that ending, there's a new beginning. So what's happening next, and how to access your passion, radiance, creativity more tangibly. So it's not some far off dream, but it's something that you're feeling like you're actively working on, and continuing to tap that deeper source of wisdom for yourself, and starting to feel things, notice things happening with less effort. And then the seventh course would be more of a, well, actually what ends up happening is the first class ends up being, or the first session ends up being getting clear on where you're at, and what you want, what your intention is for the class or the private work, as well as what it is that you're going towards, and also some knowledge about where are things kind of stuck or blocked or hung up. So that's not sure why that's not on there, because I thought I changed that, but I am modeling imperfect action. So
Claire, I have a little confusion here. So yes. This here, what you just covered, that's the 597 package or the 97 package?
It's both, actually. And
okay.
So because I didn't have the time, because I haven't had the time to put together a page that's just about the class, I figured you can go to the page that's about the program, and that's what the class is going to be. What it doesn't say is like how long the classes are and when they are, and what are the extra, the extra meetings and different kinds of things like that.
Okay.
But any pricing on there is different. It's the $97 for the class, and then $497 to do the work privately with me. Because my feeling about it is I really want to jumpstart this happening, and I'd love to get a small group of women together who want to do the class. And I also know that some people want to do private work, and I want to just make it super affordable, because I want to do this, and I want you to do this. So that's my feeling about that. So Valentina says Thursday's choir, can't make it that day. So if you would want to do the class, and if making it be on Wednesday would make a difference, we can do it on Wednesday. That's the thing, is we can kind of like work in, that's why I'm making it available to you, because where I'm just putting this together. I mean, this is material I've been working with for a long time, and the class is something that I have designed, but I want to be able to, let's just make it work. Let's just make it happen. Great. Good. Definitely, Team Inks is definitely in for the group program. Awesome. And, you know, my thinking about it is it's going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be 4 or 5 women. It's going to be pretty small. I would not, I mean, it would be cool on one level if it was 10 or 12, but I don't imagine it being any larger than that, because I really want it to be small and intimate. And I think it'd be really cool if it's just a small little group. Yeah. Yeah, great. Carol says she's got to go. We all need to wrap up. I would like to, if you have any essential oil nearby, I would love to have you, we're going to do like a little anointing ritual just to end. I was hoping to open the line so that you could share any closing thoughts and reflections, but I'm also really concerned that I'm over time. I guess we're just at noon right now. So I also don't want to push it and have everybody need to bail while we're in the middle of it. So if anybody, but with that in mind, if anybody, how do I want to do this? Okay, this is what we'll do. So I'd like for you to tune in just right now to one takeaway that you have for today. One takeaway. Like something that you received. And then one next step. Something that you received and something that might be a next step. Could be one small thing. Could be a big thing. Okay. And I'm going to give you a moment if anybody would like to share what that one thing is. Raise your hand or press raise hand. And I'd like that to be like a word or a phrase. It's a nugget. We're working with a little bit of time. Okay. So I'm going to unmute you, Valentina.
I was told to finish my book and put away the toys that distract me.
Put away the toys that distract you. Great. Excellent. And finish your book. Good. So what's one next step to finish the book? What's the first thing you have to do?
Sit down and write.
Okay, great. So the first thing might be, you know, get a notebook or open a document. Like break it down.
Well, I have it started. I have it on a thumb drive.
Okay, great. So step number 1 is find thumb drive that has book. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Who else? Who's next? One thing you received, one action. Could be, you know, one or both of those. Short. Anybody? Nice. Teaming says, embrace red, wear red today. Excellent. That's so great. You received that about wearing red and you're going to wear red today. That's so concrete. It's great. Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else? All right. So I'm going to do a little anointing on you. This is a Magdalene spray. So this is an essential oil spray. You just imagine yourself you're being spritzed and sprayed now. Just take a moment, close your eyes. And if you have an essential oil near you or with you, just put a drop of it on your, maybe on your palm or on your wrist and just smell it. Maybe rub your forehead. I'm going to rub all of your foreheads. And I'm rubbing all the foreheads of the people who are watching this in other times and spaces. And I'm going to offer you the Magdalene Blessing. This is something that came to me at the very end of the book. And it's like me putting my hands on the top of your head. So feel my hands right over or on your head. And golden light starts pouring from you, from me to you, from the Magdalene to you, really. It's just through my hands. I bless you and anoint you. I'm so grateful for your presence on the planet here now. You are so valuable and loved and beloved. What you offer and who you are is such an amazing blessing to the world. And I love you, and I'm so glad you're here. Your presence matters, your gifts matter, and what you're doing is making a difference, even if in some dark moments it doesn't feel that way. Through the love and light of the Divine Feminine and through the grace and power of Mary Magdalene, I bless and anoint you. I send you on your way here on this Magdalene feast day, which is the sacred day of celebration in the Catholic Church. I send you off with love and blessings. May you take this energy and share it with others, whether you do that in a whole, in a revealed or quiet way. In whatever way is your next step. I thank you for taking this time and for sharing this space with us together. Namaste, sisters and brother. Anything anybody would like to share in closing? I got you unmuted, Linda.
Okay. I would just like to thank you so much for opening up this celebration today. I personally, because I had seen other celebrations happening, but nothing was close by in my area. I even went online, Googled any of the churches that in my area that might be doing something, and I just couldn't find anything. So I'm so grateful to you for doing this.
Good. Thank you. That's exactly why I wanted to do it. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Great.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you too, Claire.
Thank you, Bibi.
Yep.
Lovely. It's lovely having this lovely circle of women from all around the world. I just feel so honored, really, by all of you here. So for now, we'll close. And if you have any questions for me, you all have my email address, I believe, but I'm going to put it in the chat. You'll get, if you're here, you got an email from me, so you are on my email list. But so feel free to reply that way, but there's my email address. Feel free to be in touch. Love and blessings to you all. Thank you so much for helping me make my vision and dreams come true by getting to do this with you. Yay! All right. Now, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.